Marie had been paralyzed for a decade, yet her children were always too caught up in their own lives, jetting off on vacations, attending parties, indulging in what they called freedom. But I stayed. I couldn't walk away. I was the one who remained by her side, caring for her every need. In the end, when she passed, she left all her valuable real estate to her biological children. All I received was a run-down old house on Main Street in Pine Creek. Marie's daughter Lauren never missed a chance to belittle me. To her, I was nothing more than a housekeeper, someone beneath acknowledgement. Respect was a currency she never bothered to spend on me. But when I started cleaning out that old house, I found things I never expected. That morning, sunlight spilled through the window, casting a soft glow on Marie's face. She looked a little brighter than usual, though even speaking took all her energy. In a barely audible whisper, she asked if I could make her a chicken pot pie. As I wiped her face and massaged her limbs, she kept watching me like she had something more to say. In the kitchen, I set to work, rolling dough, seasoning the filling, measuring everything by feel. When I glanced back, I noticed her eyes had drifted upward, locked on the ceiling, unmoving. Once the pie cooled slightly, I cut it into small bites and fed her slowly. Normally, she barely ate, but that day, she finished the whole plate and even asked for warm broth. "You've got quite the appetite today," I said, chuckling softly. A small moment of comfort. But at 1:52 in the morning, I woke up and sensed something was wrong. Her hand was cold. Panic gripped me as I leaned in to check her breathing. Nothing, just silence. My heart shattered as I whispered through my tightening throat, "Marie, Mom." She was gone, just hours after eating her favorite meal. By 9 a.m., Lauren stormed in. The moment she walked through the door, she snapped. "What did you do? What did you feed my mom?" For a second, I nearly lost it. "You think I did something to her? After all these years? When have you ever really cared about her?" My voice shook with anger. "While you were off enjoying your life, I was the one by her side for 10 straight years. And now, you show up just to accuse me?" Lauren's husband intervened, placing a hand on her arm. "Kylie, if you have even a shred of decency, just stay quiet and make sure Marie gets a proper funeral." The funeral barely ended before the fighting over inheritance began. Loud voices, bitter arguments, no grief, just greed. Marie had spent her life raising 3 children alone after her husband's tragic accident, working tirelessly on a modest corn farm. When a stroke left her paralyzed, I stepped in without hesitation. Yet after a decade of sacrifice, I wasn't even worth a thank you. Still, I couldn't let resentment consume me. Marie had been kind to me, treating me like a daughter from the moment I married Chad. She always had dinner ready when I came home, even the fruit washed and neatly arranged. During the holidays, she'd slip a little cash into my hand, telling me to buy something nice. She never pressured me about kids, just laughed and said, "Live your life. Don't end up like me, giving everything and having nothing left." At the time, I didn't understand. Now, I do. The next morning, as I sat in bed, I felt the emptiness of the house. No more Marie. Then came the knock at the door. "Kylie, you should sell this house. I found a buyer." It was Brad, Marie's youngest son, the one who had barely been around. "Lauren already sold hers next door. She's smarter than you, took the money and moved on." "I'm not selling," I said flatly. A few days later, the noise started. Bulldozers tearing down Lauren's house. The homes Marie built for her children didn't even last a week. Maybe I should leave too. But before I did, I wanted to clean the house one last time. That's when I noticed it. The loose floorboard. When I pried it up, my breath caught. Bundles of $100 bills. My hands shook as I counted. $300,000. At the bottom, a yellowed envelope. Marie's shaky handwriting read, "Dear Kylie, this money is for you. Stop waiting for Chad. He's not worth it. Live your life, sweetheart. I've always thought of you and wished the best for you." Tears streamed down my face as years of grief, exhaustion, and loneliness crashed over me. Marie had truly seen me. She had trusted me. And while her children fought over scraps, she had quietly left me everything she had. The money needed to be deposited safely. As I walked to the bank, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every turn, every rustling leaf felt like eyes in the shadows. But I convinced myself it was just nerves. That night, over dinner with my parents and son, I finally felt lighter. For the first time in years, I could just be a mother. But peace didn't last long. In the restaurant hallway, I heard voices. They're sitting there, eating and laughing, spending our money. I froze. I knew that voice. Tessa, Brad's wife. Your mother left all that money to an outsider. If Kylie remarries, that cash is gone. You need to get it back. Maybe use Ethan, if you know what I mean. My stomach twisted. My son. Brad hesitated. He's my nephew. We can't. Just keep an eye on them. We'll find a way. My palms were damp as I hit record on my phone. Then, calmly, I returned to the table. Mom, Dad, I said gently, why don't you head home early? I'll take Ethan. Once they left, I stepped outside and called the police. Taking Ethan's hand, I led him down a quieter alley toward the station. My heart pounded. Then, movement. Brad, pretending to tie his shoe. Tessa, stepping in from the other side, her eyes cold. Kylie, she sneered, leaving so soon? I squared my shoulders. If it's money you want, just say it. Brad stepped forward. We want the money. I gripped my phone tighter. I already called the police. Brad faltered. Tessa hissed. She's bluffing. Just then, the convenience store door chimed. James, the store owner, stepped out. Everything okay? I seized the moment. James, can you call the police? Someone's been following us. Panic flashed across Tessa's face. Damn it, she really called someone. She grabbed Brad's arm. Let's go. He hesitated. I met his gaze. Brad, if you have any decency left, don't make this worse. And just like that, he bolted. Tessa, right behind him. Minutes later, sirens filled the air. The police took my statement, the recording, everything. We strongly recommend a restraining order. An officer said. I nodded. I just want them to stay away from me and my son. Ethan's small hand gripped mine tightly. He hadn't said a word. I squeezed back. It's okay, sweetheart. Mom's here. Kylie finally felt a sense of peace as she listened to Ethan's steady breathing, realizing she was now the foundation of her family. The next morning, whispers drifted in through the window. News had spread about Tessa and Brad's troubles. The town was small, and gossip traveled fast. Brad's gambling debts had finally caught up to him, while Tessa, once confident in selling insurance, found her reputation in ruins. Desperate, she posted an emotional plea online, but the harsh comments only deepened her disgrace. Meanwhile, Lauren, who had remained quiet through most of the chaos, finally called Kylie, demanding to know what she had told people. But Kylie had said nothing. People had simply pieced together the truth themselves. When Lauren tried to act as if she still had control, Kylie shut her down completely, making it clear that she had cut ties for good. 3 days later, Chad returned to town, his face lined with exhaustion, but still carrying the same selfish greed. Lauren had lured him back, feeding his resentment with carefully worded emails, reminding him of the inheritance Kylie now had. The sight of Kylie and Ethan, content and secure, sparked something dark in him. He didn't believe she deserved that life. Meeting Lauren at a cafe, they plotted their next move, with Chad determined to exploit Kylie's emotions, particularly using Ethan as his way in. When Kylie unexpectedly crossed paths with Chad outside a grocery store, it felt surreal. He had walked away from their lives a decade ago, and now he stood before her, acting as if nothing had changed. But Kylie wasn't the same woman anymore. Without a word, she walked past him, unwilling to give him the reaction he wanted. Later, as she prepared dinner, her mind replayed the encounter. Her son, Ethan, didn't even recognize his own father. That night, Chad appeared at her doorstep, pretending to seek redemption. But she saw through his act. When he spoke of wanting to be a father, she made it clear he had nothing to offer Ethan now. In the following days, Chad lingered around town, subtly inserting himself into Ethan's routine. Then, one day, Ethan mentioned that a strange man had approached him, claiming to be his father. The realization sent a cold shiver through Kylie. That evening, Lauren called, feigning innocence about Chad's return. But Kylie saw through it. It was no coincidence. He had come back right after their mother's passing, just as Kylie inherited her estate. She knew she had to protect what was hers, especially for Ethan. Lauren, suddenly warm and considerate, made efforts to reconnect, offering pastries, inviting Kylie out, subtly prying about her plans for the house. But Kylie recognized the manipulation. Lauren and Chad weren't just after money. They were testing her defenses. She played along, but in the background, she made her own moves. She set up a trust fund for Ethan, legally blocking Chad from ever accessing it. Then, Chad made his move. He attempted to gain access to the trust fund, claiming guardianship over Ethan. But the bank denied his request, and within minutes, Kylie's attorney ensured he was formally shut out. The moment Lauren stormed into her home, furious, Kylie knew they had lost. Lauren accused her of being ruthless, but Kylie calmly corrected her. This wasn't cruelty, it was protection. Days later, Kylie saw Chad outside a grocery store, looking drained and defeated. He finally admitted, "You won," but she hadn't won. He had simply lost because of his own greed. Some things couldn't be taken through manipulation. He had once had a family and chosen to walk away. Now, there was nothing left for him here. Without argument, he quietly left town, the same way he had vanished 10 years ago. Only this time, there was no illusion that he would ever return. After vanishing just as abruptly as he had years ago, Lauren never resurfaced. The two people who once schemed to up in my life were finally gone for good. In the days that followed, I started stepping into the world again. For so long, I had kept to myself, blending into the background. But now, I was choosing to engage. Not for anyone else, but because I had realized I had the right to shape my own life. When I saw a call for volunteers at the local library, I signed up. The neighborhood association needed help organizing events, so I joined in, arranging tables and hanging decorations. The Children's Art Center was looking for parent helpers. I became one of the regulars. "You're always so thoughtful, Susan," one of the organizers said warmly. "Things just run smoother when you're around." I smiled. Maybe I was just used to taking care of others. But this time, my smile felt lighter than it had in years. Ethan was adjusting, too. His emotions had settled, and he seemed more at ease, more open. Every afternoon, he came home, buzzing with stories from school. Who said what? The games they played, the jokes they shared. One day, he brought home a certificate for excellence on a math quiz. I pinned it on the refrigerator and found myself glancing at it every time I passed by. In the evenings, he worked at his desk, scribbling away at his homework while I sat beside him, sketching plans for a project that had been on my mind for months. I wanted to start a small, home-based consulting service, something that would use the caregiving skills I had honed over the years, a place where women like me, overwhelmed, unseen, could find support, guidance, or even just a listening ear. It wasn't about money. It was about offering something I had once needed so desperately. I reached out to an old friend who worked in family services. She ran a program dedicated to rebuilding broken family relationships. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked, a little surprised. "I want to try," I said with certainty. There had been a time when I wished someone would reach out and pull me from the darkness. Now, I wanted to be that hand for someone else. She squeezed my hand gently. "You've changed, Kylie. You've become stronger." I didn't need to say anything. I simply smiled. Life moved forward, as if nothing had happened, yet everything felt different. The trees outside sprouted fresh green leaves, and the early summer air drifted in through the windows. In the kitchen, I made a cup of tea. The house filled only with the quiet hum of the kettle. Ethan sat at his desk, lost in thought as he worked, his features growing sharper, more defined with each passing day. That afternoon, we strolled through the community garden. He held my hand, talking excitedly about his latest art project, a large tree with a tiny bird's nest made from cut paper. "Mom, did you like drawing when you were little?" he asked. I chuckled. I did, but I wasn't very good at it. He looked up at me, completely serious. "I bet your drawings were better than mine." I knelt down, hugging him tightly. "Your tree is the best I've ever seen." He laughed, his voice light and joyful, then tugged me along as we continued walking. Sunlight filtered through the branches, casting flickering patterns along our path. My steps felt steady, unhurried, just like life now. No longer rushed, no longer lost. That evening, we cooked dinner together. He washed the vegetables while I stood at the stove, the warmth of home wrapping around us. His drawing of the tree was pinned to the refrigerator, where it would stay. "When you grow up, this drawing will still be here," I told him. His eyes sparkled. "Really?" "Really," I promised. "It'll remind me that once, a little boy stood in this kitchen, washing vegetables, laughing, telling stories." He looked at me, thoughtful for a moment, then grinned. "Mom, when I grow up, I'll protect you, just like you protect me now." My heart clenched. My hands paused over the skillet. Then I smiled. "Deal," I whispered. "It's a promise." That night, the house settled into a peaceful hush. I sat alone on the balcony, my tea long gone cold, watching the glow of the streetlights in the distance. Now and then, a night bird called out. I closed my eyes, thinking of every step that had led me here. The pain, the struggle, the loneliness I had carried for so long. Time had softened it, smoothing out the rough edges like ripples settling on a quiet lake. I no longer needed anyone's validation. I no longer needed an apology. I had learned to place the pain gently in the corners of my memory and still move forward. Inside, I could hear Ethan's gentle breathing. It was the most comforting sound in the world, and in a quiet whisper, meant only for myself, I murmured, "I'm home." The night breeze stirred the curtains. Slowly, I rose, closing the window behind me. And for the first time, I truly felt it. This house, this life, finally, completely, belonged to me. As I stood there, looking out into the night, a deep sense of peace settled over me. The past no longer had its grip on me. The future no longer felt uncertain. I had built this life, one step, one choice at a time. Not perfect, not without scars, but mine. Tomorrow would come with its own moments, its own challenges, its own joys. And I was ready for them, because no matter what lay ahead, I knew one thing for certain. I was home, I was whole, and I was finally free.